Why is it important to measure native advertising? It's a great question, and one that a lot of people ask. It's all about data. It's all about understanding our audiences. If we're going to invest so much money in a marketing medium, then we need to understand how it works. Is it effective for us as a business? Is it driving the results that we want to drive? And is it garnering the results that we want? Is it meeting that overall objective? The idea is that we should be better communicating with our audience. We should be getting results that help us to be better as marketers, but also to grow our businesses. And if we can't do that, then what is the point of doing marketing? And just like any other medium, whether it's TV, radio, etc., you need to know what the impact is, and you need to know if it's working for you as a brand. How do you measure native advertising? I think this is the one of the biggest questions of the conference, and it's been a really interesting topic. Measuring native advertising comes down to three things. So it's about building out those objectives, and it's about everyone being on the same page. You need to have a strategy, and my one biggest tip would be to document your strategy. Make sure that you have the right stakeholders in the room. Make sure that you have your salesperson, someone from customer services. This is an integrated approach, and everyone needs to buy into it. So everyone will have a different idea of what they want to achieve from a campaign or throughout the year. Some people, the brand team, will want to get the most reach. They want to reach the most people, whereas the sales team, they want leads. They want people to be able to contact on a weekly basis. So you need to say, okay, well, what are we going to do for each of the different objectives that we have, and how do we make sure that we meet each of these objectives? So one, that everyone's happy, but two, that we are meeting the marketing objectives, and again, business objectives. So first thing is document strategy. Make sure you're all on the same page with the objectives. Then build out your KPIs. And this is where you need to look at that user journey. It's not a case of last click. It's a case of attribution modeling. So everyone goes on a journey, and people will come into your journey at different stages. So do you know where your audience is? And have you built out the right content to fit the right format of that particular channel that you want to reach them on? And then it's understanding, well, how do I measure that? What is the point of that piece of content that we've produced? What do we want it to do? So for example, if it's a video, then generally you'll want video views. And you'll want them to get to a certain amount of that video. So for example, 95% of the video. Then you may have a blog. Maybe you want them to scroll to a certain point in the blog, or you want them to click on something within the blog. Then you may have a gated asset, and the objective of that particular gated asset is to get them to download it. So each content asset has a different KPI attached to it, and then the metrics fall under that as well. And if you can build out, everyone is on the same page with the objective, and you can build out the particular KPIs for each of the different channels and different pieces of content, then hopefully you should be able to marry everything up and to seamlessly create that user journey and ensure that you get your prospect or your customer from A through to B. What's the difference between ROO and ROI? ROO is return on objective. We're very much focused on return on investment within the ad industry, or return on advertising spend. Doesn't really work for native advertising or content marketing, because we're not just looking at last click. We're not looking at one piece of content. We're looking at a whole journey. So we need to have attribution modeling in place, and we need to be fair to each piece of the journey, and understand that if we set an objective for each of those different mediums, and we get the results that we want from each of them, then we can say, yes, that has been a success. That has done what we wanted it to do. Therefore, we can now go to the next part of the funnel and feed them the next piece of content. So awareness needs an objective, consideration needs an objective, conversion needs an objective. And if you can seamlessly be able to go through each of those and say, yes, we've met the objective for that, now we are going to move on to the next part of the funnel, then you should be able to get them down to the bottom of the funnel, and it should be a process that is a lot more simple and a lot more effective and able to measure, rather than trying to figure out what that ROI or return on ad spend is right at the end. Why do we need to start thinking about clicks and followers? So clicks and followers are vanity metrics in my eyes. It's a very short-term tactical approach that marketers sometimes get a little bit wrapped up in, and we're all guilty of it. We work in marketing all the time, so we're constantly wanting to know, how many clicks did we get, how many impressions, how many people did we reach, how many video views, but they're just vanity metrics. When we take that away, what are we actually trying to achieve? What is our marketing objective and what is our business objective? And if we don't know what those two things are, then our clicks become meaningless, our followers become meaningless. In terms of followers, why I personally really don't value or don't like buying followers, I should say, is because I think it's a waste of time. You should earn followers. You should be able to produce a piece of content, amplify it on a channel, and if your content is good enough and you engage your audience enough, they will respond to you by following you, and that's earned. It's trust and it's respect. How do you best drive traffic to native? Oh, good question. Again, I think it comes down to the objective, and I think it comes down to knowing where your audience is. And there needs to be that research into who your audience is and where are they, what are they consuming, what are their interest points, and also looking at your competitors as well, finding that white space. If you could own something, then that's where you can tap into that audience. If you can see that they're constantly Googling or searching for something in particular, creating content around that and then driving your audience to it is going to be really effective. If you're producing the same content as your competitors, or you're just copying what they're doing, then the chances are you're not going to engage your customers in the same way. So it's trying to find something that's unique, find that white space, and then really understand them and listen to them as well. And that's where the measuring and reporting comes in, constantly listening to them on a weekly, monthly basis, testing different content formats. The more you can do that and the better you can understand them, then the better you can help them. How can we work with data in order to work smarter? I think data is the biggest opportunity for native advertising. It's something that we aren't using enough, and there is heaps of data out there that we should be using from our own campaigns, and we're not. We're producing content at such a rapid speed, but are we putting the right measurement and analytics in place to understand if this content is working? I would say no. In a recent report, piece of research that we did with WARC, we found that 57% of respondents didn't think that native advertising was effective. And this was really what came down to the fact that they didn't know how to measure. And the fact that they don't know how to measure means that they probably aren't, which means that they're not using data. They're not using all of this information that is right there in front of them that they've actually paid for. They've paid to engage their audience. They've paid to learn something about them. So use it. Use it to help you build out your next marketing campaign. Data is so important, and we all love it. So it's really being able to take that and turn it into insights. And again, it comes back to that word listening. If you can listen and you can analyze and interpret what that data says, then you should be able to build a more robust content marketing and native advertising strategy and be able to better engage your audience, meet your business objectives, and hopefully make more money. How do you set KPIs? This is really simple. Know your objective and know what it is that you want to achieve, and then set measurable metrics that you can actually achieve to be able to meet that particular objective. So for example, if you're looking at brand awareness, then you want to be setting a KPI that is based around reach or around video views. If you're looking at downloads, if you're wanting to achieve leads, then you're wanting to probably look at, downloads or conversion rates or subscribers. And it's making sure that it's something that you can actually measure across multiple channels. It doesn't have to be the same metric that you're measuring across different channels, but that whatever piece of content you're putting out across the channel, that you know how to actually measure that piece of content in that particular context in the format that it's in. To highlight 3 takeaways from my presentation today, number 1 would be concentrate on real metrics, not vanity metrics. So stop looking at your clicks, stop looking at your followers, and really think about what is that overall objective, and how do we achieve that through setting KPIs. Number 2 would be data. Every time you do a campaign, every time you produce a piece of content, think about all the data that you're going to get from it, and hopefully it'll give you that kick up the bum to measure and to think about what you can actually gain from this. The more data you have, the more you'll understand about your audience, and the more as a business you'll be able to achieve. And third thing would be look holistically at marketing within your business. So it does affect sales, it does affect customer service, it does affect finance. So stop trying to keep it within marketing, and let's take a more holistic approach to this and start introducing stakeholders from different parts of the business to get buy-in, so that everyone understands what we're trying to achieve, and then we will get bigger budgets to be able to play with on native advertising and achieve better results.